Welcome back to Speaking with Confidence, a podcast that helps you build the soft skills that lead to real results. Communication, storytelling, public speaking, and showing up with confidence in every conversation that counts. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach, and I'm thrilled to guide you on your journey to becoming a powerful communicator. I want to thank you all for supporting the show. It truly means the world to me. Over the last few months, I've been working on a number of things, and next week I will share one of them with you. I'm really excited about it, so stay tuned. Getting up in front of a group of people and talking may be easy for some of you, and it may be terrifying for others. The purpose of this podcast is to give everyone strategies, tactics, and tools to become powerful communicators and speak with confidence. But how do we deal with tough questions or an unruly audience members trying to make a point or embarrass us? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Picture this. You're in the middle of your talk. Someone in the audience cuts in with a loaded question. Your credibility is on the line. Your hands go clammy. Your chest tightens. What now? If you've ever frozen in that moment, you're not alone. That's why today I'm giving you a toolkit, a simple 3-step credibility playbook. Acknowledge, provide evidence, call to action, plus 2 body language moves that keep you in control on stage. These are research-backed, field-tested phrases and tactics speakers rely on when pressure hits. They won't erase the nerves, but they will stop you from being caught off guard. Before we jump in, I want you to think about the hardest questions you've ever had to face. Now, let's look at what happens in that exact high-pressure moment. The worst version of this moment goes like this. You're mid-sentence when someone interrupts you with, "How would you know? You've never even worked in our industry." Your shoulders lock up, your breath shortens, and before you know it, you blurt, "That's not true. I've got plenty of experience." The room shifts uncomfortably. You've automatically slipped into defense mode, and from there, no one wins. Research on audience perception shows defensive reactions often stick in listeners' minds longer than the point you were trying to make. So instead of reinforcing your message, you've reinforced your discomfort. Strong speakers take the same moment and steer it differently. One tool is the action, evidence, action flow, which aligns closely with the ABCD method documented by communication coaches. ABCD is answer, backup, confirm, and depersonalize. In practice, acknowledge lines up with answer, evidence lines up with backup and confirm, and action echoes depersonalize by moving the focus forward. Framing it as acknowledge, evidence, action gives you one clear phrase to remember under pressure. Here's what it looks like on stage. A weak response would be, "I know what I'm talking about," versus a strong response. "I see where you're coming from. Many clients felt the same way until they reviewed the case studies." Step 1 is to acknowledge the concern. Step 2 is to share tangible evidence. And step 3 is to point to an action, like opening a slide or describing what the data actually means for them. For technical pushback, try, "That's a great point. That's why we've confirmed these numbers with independent studies before presenting. Here's the data." The reason this works is you avoid conflict and replace it with proof. The micro action, show a simple chart and move the energy back onto common ground. For experience-based objections, phrase it as, "That's a fair question. That's why we partner with frontline teams during development. Here's what we learned." Again, you validate, supply evidence, then invite them forward. Targeted social proof also shifts the weight of proof away from you. Instead of insisting on your expertise, point to a credible pilot project or case study that shows the idea in action. By anchoring your response in shared evidence, you turn skepticism into curiosity. Nancy Duarte notes in her research that even the way you phrase points in rehearsal can change the questions you'll receive. A sales leader, she observed, swapped the phrase "align on goals" for "redefining goals," and the shift instantly promoted more collaborative questions instead of defensive ones. That example underscores how practiced language choices can set you up for easier handling of tough questions. So the transformation is clear. Before, you're tense, rushed, and defensive. After, you're steady, evidence-backed, and collaborative. This isn't about looking forward to conflict. It's about being prepared enough that you don't get thrown off your course. And once you have this foundation, you can start examining the different kinds of challenges you'll face, because not every tough question comes from the same place or carries the same intent. Hostile to heroic moments are where the real test happens. The person leaning in with folded arms isn't the same as the one sighing in frustration or the one that's showing off fishing for laughs. Each type signals a different motive. Communication expert Lucille Osai calls these the genuine challenges versus the maddening ones. The genuine challengers press because they want clarity, so answer them directly and give them concise proof. Maddening challengers look for attention, so set a boundary and invite them to follow up afterward, instead of letting them derail the room. You can often spot a challenge before it arrives. A flushed face, shuffling papers, or exaggerated sighs are early cues. When you notice these signals, body language becomes your first line of control. Research in psychology today recommends an open posture and movement toward people, not away. A small adjustment like angling your stance slightly instead of standing square reduces confrontation while keeping authority. Keep your hands visible and let gestures slow down, one deliberate move at a time. Project calm without escalating tension. From there, the ABCD method helps you keep your answers anchored. Answer briefly, back it with credible proof, confirm understanding, and depersonalize by noting that many have asked the same question before. At one tech talk, a participant shouted, "This architecture will never scale." The speaker replied, "It didn't in our first test either, until we added the caching layer on slide 18. Have you run into similar bottlenecks?" And in one short turn, they validated, provided evidence, and then pivoted with a question. When emotions run hot, validations come first. Saying, "I'd feel frustrated too if I thought timelines were slipping," works better than "calm down." Because as psychology today notes, empathy and active listening diffuse anger more effectively than instant defense. You can also mirror the intensity, but at a lower volume if someone says, "This is totally unrealistic." A firm but calmer reply like, "It's ambitious, that's why we staged the rollout," acknowledges without surrendering authority. Two more research-backed moves give you options. Engage the audience as an ally by asking, "Does the rest of the room see it this way?" This checks whether a concern is shared and often softens the disruption. And if side conversations flare up, shift the room into quick pairs or table discussion. Physician leaders emphasize that this resets dynamics and breaks up disruptions while preserving dignity. Handled this way, hostile moments stop being threats and become chances to actually strengthen connection. And once you have skill at turning those interruptions around, the next step is learning how to reshape even the toughest objections before they settle in. Advanced scripting tactics, where challenges stop being random jolts and start becoming deliberate openings you've prepared for. One of the simplest tools here is sleight of mouth patterns. These are short reframes that let you redirect an objection without sounding combative. For example, the chunking up pattern. If someone says, "Your software is too complicated," you step back to the bigger principle with, "What makes simplicity most important for your team?" Rather than sparring complexity, you uncover what they truly value. Redefinition is another core pattern. If a client labels an idea as risky, you can say, "Innovative with controlled tests that meet compliance." The objection is acknowledged, but the harsh emotional weight is replaced with a neutral or even positive frame. A healthcare director once shifted fast from resistance when untested method was reframed as protocol modeled on cardiac reforms. The counterexample pattern works the same way. If they argue, "Nobody in our industry does this," answer with, "Except Bayer's Singapore division, their results may be worth noting." By pointing to just one real case, you replace absolutes with possibilities. Preparing these scripts makes them far more natural in the moment. Build a what-if bank by writing down the top 10 objections you faced. For each one, draft 3 response angles: a statistic, an analogy, and an external proof. Then run practice sessions where you or a partner play the roles of devil's advocate, sniper, know-it-all, or any of the other scary six challenges from coaching research. This rehearsal makes it harder to get rattled on stage because you've already handled the tough hits in private. And when faced with multi-part or pressure-heavy questions, use a buying timeline, tight, clear, and backed by multiple sources recommending a pause. For example, I want to give that the attention it deserves. Let me outline 3 factors now, and we'll look at details in the discussion after. This steadies your pace and signals control while promising a return to the point. As a guiding script, try this 3-step reframe formula. 1 short sentence to reinstate neutrally, such as, you need proven ROI. 1 to show what's really at stake, such as, what's at stake is making sure budgets stay safe. And 1 to offer your process as a solution, such as, that's why we track indicators each week. These reframes typically shift tone or open new directions within a single exchange if delivered calmly. Mastering these tactics means you're not dodging objections, you're using them to redirect conversations with precision. And when you treat them this way, something starts to happen. The pressure doesn't just fade, it transforms into forward momentum. The turning point comes when objections stop feeling like roadblocks and start becoming opportunities. You're no longer stuck defending, you're guiding the exchange. Every pushback shows you've prepared, and each clear response builds engagement instead of resistance. Pick one strategy this week, the ABCD method, a validation line, or the 3-step reframe. Rehearse it for 5 minutes today so it's ready when you need it. Notice the shift that happens in that small pause when you choose to respond instead of react. That pause is where authority starts to show. Remember, we're looking for progress, not perfection. That's all for today. Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. You can also register for the Formula for Public Speaking course. Always remember, your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.